I'm Connor Exum, and I author the Bull Moose Party of Wyndham, New York podcast and newsletter. And I'm here today with New York State 19 hopeful Alex Portelli. Hi, Mr.
Yes,
Portelli.
appreciate it. Thank you, Connor. Glad to be here.
So I was great. I was looking at your website, and can you tell us a little bit more about you? Because that seems to be you have a lot of platform that we'll get into in a minute. But who are you exactly?
Yes. So I live in Otsego County. I'm born and raised in upstate New York. I'm just private citizen, taxpayer. I've got a family, and like most of us, I think, pretty not happy with the way things have been going for a long time. I think not happy with the way things, in the state and the federal level. There's a lot of issues I feel that don't get talked about. They're not even brought up. And so I decided I'm going to run and try to give these issues a voice and fight for them and make them front and center.
Okay. All right. So do you have any prior experience with local government or any government at all?
No, I do business and I do real estate, and I have my private things I do, but I'm a private citizen, in my 30s.
Okay.
Like
Right.
most of Congress, I think in the beginning, the first part of our country's history. So, and I think that's kind of what we need more normal folks just getting in there, because the folks in Congress and a lot of these federal offices right now, they've been in public service for 50, 60 years, some of them, 40,
Okay.
50, 60 years. And I feel like they've kind of totally lost touch with the realities of what most people are going through.
All right, that's good. We'll hit some of that because that brought up some interesting ideas. But I wanted to really talk to you about your policy, which is quite long. When I printed it out, it was like 14 pages. It came out
Yep.
to be. So your first one is end federal income tax for working Americans. So
Yes.
But then you have but then you say that you want to have it for people above $1 million to what is it, 500 million or a billion?
No, $1 million yen, raise it and keep going up.
Yeah.
Which I think, right now what we have is we kind of do it the opposite. Like the tax burden is overwhelmingly on the vast majority of working Americans. And, and it kind of gets smaller as it goes up to the bottom, the top 0.5%. And I really think we just need to reprioritize the entire structure, the entire way we do taxes. It's not as far-fetched as people would think when you kind of look at how much money the federal government spends.
No, it's not. I was just trying to clarify it because
Yep.
I was confused by some things about it. For example, you have you want to remove it, but really you want to reduce it. You want to make it a more progressive tax. Actually,
You could say that. Yeah, you could say that. Exactly, because it doesn't necessarily remove it altogether, right? We're just starting the brackets. My idea is we start the brackets at the bottom. It's technically the 0.5%, but somewhere around there, and go upward. And when you did that, also, that's why I also say abolish the IRS, because 340 million people now are not paying taxes. It's a much smaller pool you're collecting from. So you can even consolidate those duties where you don't even need an IRS. Really, a Treasury Department could go back to it.
Well, I don't know. I think you want a designated program that's looking at taxes all the time, because the more you're taxing them, the more likely they are to want to try to avoid these taxes, and that's our big problem: is tax avoidance, right?
Right.
Your chart looks something like Norway does, right? They only have 3 brackets, and it goes from like 0 to 13%, then 13 to like 33%, and then 33 to like 67%, or it used to around 2009. They've changed it a lot since then. But people have a lot simpler tax brackets, so I understand that and I agree with that. But I was concerned with the idea that if you take away the IRS, right, then you leave a lot of space there for people to not monitor the people that are most likely to avoid taxes, which are the ultra wealthy.
Right. Well, it's more consolidating, because I think that's another big problem we have is, the federal government's bigger than ever. We have more departments than we've ever had. 2 to 3 times what it was when you or I were born,
Mhm.
and and yet still nothing. I feel like that kind of contributes to a lot of the problems we have today. So with that idea, it's because basically almost every American now is not paying income tax. It's a much smaller pool. Abolish the IRS, but consolidate those duties to a
Mhm.
department in the Treasury Department, which would kind of be what it was constitutionally supposed to be. The Treasury Department was supposed to be responsible for
Mhm.
these kinds of things, and that it could be focused on wealth audits and
Mhm.
corporate audits and the small pool now that is paying taxes. So it would save us that money, a good $80 million or 80 billion, not having an IRS, but while focusing on exactly the concern you kind of brought up.
Okay. So your next thing is end all foreign aid.
Yep.
What about
Self-explanatory.
what about the foreign aid that is actually used because we buy commodities here and then we ship them over? So like
Well,
that
that
roughly
too, because
five
well,
billion
because
dollars in like
right, because
farm aid.
it's yeah, I mean, I have a 120 acre farm. I've sheep more, but and I'm around a lot of farmers. Look, I mean, we don't need to tax us just to buy things back from us to send it overseas, and that's a big problem too. I mean, if we want to repeal income tax, trust me, you talk to any farmer, they would prefer just not to be taxed in the first place than to have the government buying those subsidies to give overseas, and that's still money and resources that's kind of going abroad and and I oppose that. I am opposed to that because I don't think that we should be spending
But
any money or yeah.
you're reducing the overall um, consumption base right there. So I mean, you take $2 billion out, you're going to raise the prices of things because you're a farmer, right? You're not going to produce as many sheep. If I was buying,
Well, no, because here's the thing: it's actually going to lower the price because look when you produce something, when you grow something, a product, you're always going to sell it, and if you can't sell it right away, you're going to drop your price until you do sell it, So, and especially when it comes to food. So, it doesn't really make sense. And wasn't supposed to be the government's role in the first place to be taxing people to buy food from certain farmers just to, after taking a bit off the top, just to send it overseas to another country. That just doesn't make sense. And especially not with the problems that we have today. I mean, we have people can't afford $200 bills, utility bills, who I've come across and and when as long as we have those kinds of things happening, I don't think that we should send any money overseas or anything.
so you don't
So, I mean,
want.
that's just my position.
I see that. I see that. But I think you're going to find that your position about taking that money out of the farmers without that aid, you're going to see the prices skyrocket. Historically, that's what happens every time.
I would disagree with that. I don't think that's true at all by any means. That doesn't really quite make sense to me.
Sure, it does. You've reduced the number of people who are consuming your product, right? You have to have a certain amount, right, to make it cheap, right? We're going to create more of it, right? That's how you make the profit by the numbers game of having more sales. So if you reduce the number of sales,
Leave him. I don't feel like arguing with him.
hello,
Hostile
hello,
interview. I mean, I don't really want to do it.
you just didn't. Oh, okay. Are you there? Not there? Wow. Good thing we didn't get the tariffs. Because that took 13 minutes. Did he leave? Did he go? I don't know. I think we're off. I think that we've set him off. Well, it was interesting. It's a good thing we didn't get the tariffs because that would have been a real nightmare. But it was nice talking to him. He's probably not going to win with those plans. And well, there we go. He's gone. I feel vindicated, but that's me. Well, it was a great show. Adios, everyone. Doesn't tell you who he is. Doesn't tell you what he is. I actually have to agree on this. Oh, well.